So, real story here. The smartest people that I know are sometimes also the dumbest people that I also know at the same exact time. Like these people, they really do exist. And if you don't know one, well, hey, I'm Tommy and I'm one of those people also. Now, honestly, the only thing that makes me different today is that I got very good with money. And this video is all about smart people and the dumb things they do with money. But one big example is my uncle. Like, oh, should not have said that, but let's continue. One of my many uncles out there. This guy has to be the smartest person I know. The guy has like 3 bachelor's degrees, 2 master's degrees, and has been a teacher for like over 10 to 15 years. And he is renowned where he's from, okay? Renowned in finance and money, but he does the dumbest things ever when it comes to finance. Like, all he does is the more income he makes, the higher his expenses. So if he stops working, everything comes down crashing. Like, this is something that smart people do that is so stupid. And that's why I say smart people at the same time can be super stupid. So you want to watch this video to know exactly the things that you want to avoid, whether you think you're smart, whether you think you're stupid, because me, myself, I've made some of these mistakes. So by watching this video, you get to avoid them and not cost you money. And by the way, every single one of you guys at some point, you're gonna have more money than you have today. So think about the future, okay? In the future, you'll have more money. You'll have more opportunities. So it's very important you know exactly what to do right now, so when that time comes, you're ready and prepared for it. As always, do me a favor and smash the like button. On top of that, also subscribe if you want to join the channel. But now, here's the first dumb thing out of 5 dumb things that very smart people do. And by the way, this is pretty dumb, but most people think it's actually smart. And the first thing people do is they hire a bigger idiot to actually manage their money for them, because this person has a fancy title. I'm a financial advisor. I'm a stockbroker. I manage money for celebrities. I work at a whatever California place or whatever it is, okay? And by the way, I only charge you 1 to 2% of your portfolio. If this does not make sense, what I'm saying is people that are very smart more than often think, hey, I'm not good enough to invest my own money, so they hire someone, an idiot also, to do the job for them. Now, realistically, this sounds like it's smart, right? Instead of you, someone that has a job, a family, responsibilities, in order for you to invest, like, you need to take time out. If you don't have time, why not hire someone to do the work for you, right? But in the real world, in the money finance world, it just doesn't work like that. Like, an average person with very little time and no experience can make the same amount of money as far as, for example, what these money managers are actually doing. So for example, okay, here's the big difference. If I walked into a hospital and I needed heart surgery and the doctor said, Tommy, you know, I don't believe in licenses. I'm an organic doctor. 3 things are going to happen. I'm leaving, I'm snitching, and I'm never coming back. However, in the finance world, it's different, because the person with the title, usually they're not going to beat the market, outperform the market, which basically means you yourself, by making some good investments, can just passively allow your money to grow for you without them charging you a fee. Now, my entire life changed when I read these 2 books right here. The first one is called A Random Walk Down Wall Street. Here it is. The second one is called The Little Book About Common Sense Investing by John C. Bogle, and here it is right here. These 2 books will teach you everything you need to know, or if you want to, you can just copy my portfolio, and it makes you anywhere from 8 to 12%. But what I do is, instead of try to beat the market like all these idiots, in a way, sorry, what I do is I just track the market. I invest the same amount of money every single month in the same investments, and over the long term, I make a good amount of money. Last year, I made 20% of my money, and I did not need to pay anyone 2% or 1%. And again, in the real world, 1% or 2% is no big deal, right? But in the finance money world, it's different, because if you're making 7 to 8% of your money with like one of those bogus portfolios out there, well, 2%, then taxes, then inflation, and then, for example, this is what you end up making, like 3% and 2%, okay? That's all you make. So that 2% is like a third of all of your gains, and that's why you don't want that, because in the long term, that few $100s adds up to a few tens of thousands of dollars over 20 to 30 years. So again, don't hire an idiot with a fancy title to manage your money. Just take a few hours, read those 2 books right there, and basically study my portfolio, and you'll know exactly what you need to do without having to hire anyone and pay thousands of dollars in the long run. Now, here's the second thing smart people do that is so stupid. And by the way, this one right here is very dumb, okay? But what they do is they grab their retirement accounts, 401k, Roth IRA, or even, for example, a normal brokerage account, and they take money out, interrupting the investment process, the compound interest, and they go ahead and take that money out to go ahead and buy a home or invest into a home. Like, hey, Tommy, I just want to buy a home. I'm going to take this money and put it down as a down payment. Now, the smart thing is, well, Tommy, I know if I take money from a retirement account, there's a penalty. But if I use it to buy my very first home or the home that I haven't bought like in 2 years, it's going to be my main residence, well, there is no penalty. So I get to take that money out without having to worry about it. That's a smart thing, right? But the problem is that when you take $1 out of your investment, it's not really $1. It's more like $17 on average. Because if you take $10,000 and you put that money into a home, which, by the way, it's an asset, right? It appreciates with time. But let's say it appreciates by 2% on average every single year. Not that much. And by the way, there is a bunch of phantom costs with property. Meaning the AC broke down. Something broke down. The fridge broke down. You know, like there's this update on the kitchen. Like all that stuff costs money and eats up all the appreciation in a sense. So a house is very expensive. To me, not an investment, but more of a security asset play. Okay, but the main thing is, okay, if that money, that 10K grows by 2% for 30 years, you'll have around $18,000, like in extra money, right? Which kind of sucks, honestly. But for example, if you took that same $10,000 for 30 years and you gain 12% with that portfolio I told you about earlier, link down below for M1 Finance. You click it, it shows you it. I'm not making money from it, by the way. Like if you click and you invest, you get like $10. I get $10. But if you want to copy it somewhere else, I don't care. It's not about money here. It's about teaching you it, okay? But the main thing is that 10K, 12%, 30 years turns into a whopping $299,000. You see the difference? So I'd rather have that money in there in my Roth IRA and then have that money fully tax-free in the end, or even, for example, into a 401k or regular IRA and have that money there with all those gains and compound interest, than to do that and put it into a property. So what do you do exactly? You buy the property, you keep investing at 10, 20%, and if you have extra money that you basically want to pay off the property faster, well, send that money over there, pay it off faster, but never stop investing. That's the best thing you can possibly do. Never stop investing. And a little other dumb thing people do, which doesn't count, but I'll tell you, is they start investing while they have debt. It makes no sense. I'll make a full video on that later. But the third and official dumb thing people do, and by the way, this one is dumber than the last one and the last one before that, and it's basically a lot of smart people, they're too smart. Okay, and that sounds very stupid on my part, honestly, I know, but trust me, it makes sense, okay? I made a very dumb investment, like very stupid, like mathematically, it makes no sense. But every money decision is not just about money and making more money. You ever heard the saying, it's not all about money, and you're like, shut up, I want my money, right? I always just say that, but it really does make sense. For example, shout out to God, okay? I bought a home, I paid cash. Like in total, I'm going to be spending like around $170,000 in total in this property. 130 was the purchase price, remodel, stuff like that, might be $40,000, $30,000. I always want to go high, so I say 170. But the idea is, I could have used that 170, right? By the way, in 30 years at 2% appreciation, maybe the home might be worth like $300,000, okay? Boom. That's not really that great, honestly. But here's why it's such a bad investment, because if I put that money in my portfolio and I made 12% on it with dividends and everything else, well, guess what? That could have turned into $5 million in like those 30 years. But it's turned into $300,000. It's the worst investment ever. So why buy a home, right? Pay cash for it or try to pay it off fast when you can invest and make more money when you're basically like investing a lot of money to grow? Because again, not every money decision is about money. Some decisions are about security. And for me, not being too smart and being dumb here was the smartest thing I could ever do for my personal finance. Because once you have a personal home and it's paid off, how many people do you know with a paid off home? If I lose my job, if I die, whatever crazy thing happens, my family, they have a home. It's paid off, no bills. And that way, my cost of living is so low. And now, by the way, the main thing is that I personally did is, okay, I have this home now, I have security, everything's fine, great, 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 great. But I'm gonna pretend like I still have a mortgage on this thing, and I'm gonna send that extra money over to my investment. And although I won't have 5 million, well, that money's gonna grow into 3 million. And 3 million, 5 million, difference is 2 million. It's a big difference. But the big deal is, well, I don't have to worry that much because my cost of living is so low. And to me, that means a lot more than being homeless at some point or not being able to get with my family at some point. Like that stuff to me matters a lot. And again, not every money decision is going to be a good investment decision in a sense. And by the way, don't take this concept and say, I know, Tommy, that's why I went to vacation in Hawaii for $10,000 because the experience is, that's very stupid. That's dumber than the whole video, okay? That's not what you want to do because a home, it's very important. Shelter, utilities, grocery, transportation, those are the main things. If you can manage those things to keep them very low, you're going to have a lot of extra money to invest and basically build up a lot more wealth. That's the idea. And by the way, I have 3 million plus $300,000 in the home, right? So that matters. And potentially when I move out, I can rent that home out and get some extra cash flow and a lot more stuff can happen, okay? But I'm not really thinking about moving out, honestly. But now, here's the fourth dumbest thing ever that smart people do when it comes to money. And it's basically they take a lot of risks just in order to make some passive income. I've spoken to smart people, people that are smarter than I am. And one guy, he had almost nearly $1 million in debt just to cash flow a few like $1,000 a month. Like not really that much. It was like more like he was cash flowing like $1,000 to $1,500 to $2,000 max, like on these properties. I was like, so you're taking on all this debt, all this risk just in order to make $2,000. And if these people don't pay you any rent, what do you do? And he's like, Tommy, I was scared, but thankfully it didn't happen. But it could have happened. Now let me tell you about the dumbest person that I know, okay? This guy was gonna buy a home, 3-family home, costing him $700,000. He was gonna get a rent around $4,000, honestly, but the mortgage was gonna be like around $4,000, not including the taxes, you know, property taxes, the PMI insurance, and also, for example, any repairs need to be done, okay? This guy was so stupid, but thankfully, the deal fell through, okay? And by the way, that guy is me. I was gonna make that deal. And when the pandemic came, I was like, boy, am I glad I did not make that deal because I would have still been in all this crazy debt, like almost nearly like $1 million. It's so crazy. Paying this property, not knowing if I'm gonna get rent, and then always being like back and forth, and not really know what's gonna happen. Like I'd rather come from a position of, hey, I have a property, it's paid off. I'm gonna invest into this property now, put down 20%, use a rental income to pay that, plus more money, pay that off in full. Now I'm basically making all that money for myself, buy the next property, that way, repeat, rinse, repeat. It takes longer, but it's a lot better in my opinion. But again, personal finance is personal. And that idiot was me, and I'm glad it did not work out. Sometimes you can be lucky and not make stupid decisions. So I'm hoping that if you're watching this video and you're about to do this, maybe rethink it and reanalyze it. And by the way, my friend did do it. And he did it, and he's not cash flowing because he's living in the property, but he's basically not paying for rent. And that's pretty cool for him. And he's fine with it. But at some point, he was so scared. He was so worried. And that's not something that I basically want to do. And even now, if this person like moves out and he can't find a tenant on time, or the good thing about him is he has a very high paying job, but who knows what can happen in the future. So for me, not my game. Now, that means you never want to be too smart. Sometimes you just want to analyze and say, what do I want? I want to build wealth, have passive income come in, and have very low expenses. So buy a house, it's done paying off. I have everything I want, and I don't have all this risk being amassed and hoping that everything goes right in order for my plan to go exactly as I plan. I don't like those plans where everything has to go right. Now, the last and final, absolute dumbest thing people do is, by the way, this one is important, but most people are going to ignore this. I hope you guys don't ignore this, but it's actually creating a will. Like the smartest person that I know, and by the way, a will is just a legal document saying, hey, here's who is going to inherit or what's going to happen with my assets once I basically pass away. That's all a will basically is, okay? You can have a living trust where you transfer, for example, also like all your assets to it. You can basically manage it as you're still alive too. That's pretty cool. But the main thing is, a lot of people, they don't make wills, and they're also very smart. The smartest person that I know is my grandma. She refuses to have a will, and she has like 10 kids. What it sounds to me is like when she does pass away, it's going to be a massive family issue if she doesn't make a will. A will makes everything a lot faster. There's no probate, there's no crazy expenses like it should usually. And if you have a living trust, it's even a lot smoother. So prepare for the end, because the end at some point is going to come. It's hard to think about it, but it's very important. And that's why you got to be smart, but you also have to be money smart, not just book smart, okay? But guys, that's basically it for this video. The smart things or the dumb things that smart people basically do when it comes to money. Hopefully this helped you overall. If it did, comment down below and let me know, are you going to make a will? Are you going to research your own investments? Are you going to do the things that I spoke about in this video? Comment down below, let me know. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe, hit the bell, get notified. On top here is another video, and over here is my face. Click and subscribe. Long-term team officially out. Call me. Links are down below.